Hi, I'm Deborah Price, founder and CEO of the Money Coaching Institute, and this is Conversations About Money, where I interview people, coaches, and others from around the world who I either work with or who are part of our money coaching community. And we talk about everything there is to talk about relative to money. So today I have the good fortune of being with one of my wonderful coaches in the Netherlands, Lobke Opsteen. And Lobke is both a certified money coach and a certified business archetype coach, which is behavioral business coaching. It's a quite unique process that we've developed, and Lobke is also trained in that. So, Lobke, first of all, it's wonderful to see you. You look terrific. I love the energy and enthusiasm that you have currently. And what I'd love to know most, because I have known you for a few years now, and we've worked together both coaching as well as training. And, when you first started, you were in the middle of a huge life transition. Tell me what's transpired since you did this and how are things going, especially given that you've developed a really unique niche?
When we met, I was in the midst of transforming or after closing the doors of my law firm and then finding out why I had to do that because I knew I had to do it and I never really understood why.
Mm.
I was in the good fortune that I could make that decision and take action on it. I got into the trading and investing. And for me, the next logical step was to start working with people and help them understand what was happening. So that's where I started to work with you via the Money Coaching Institute. And I thought I was going to learn just a skill to add in my toolbox. And what I didn't realize is that I got to go through the process myself and learn a lot about myself as well. And when I visited you in Ireland, you already told me you need to start working with your niche, which is working with lawyers, because you were a lawyer and that's your blood, that's your type of person that you're best working with. And I already said yes, I know I'm going to do that. And what I realized later, or just maybe at the beginning of this year, because now the time is definitely more than right to start working with it. So I decided to get out of the closet by really focusing on, okay, I'm going to work with female lawyers who want to grow because I'm done with procrastinating, done with waiting to my coaching to be perfect because I'm already way more than qualified. I only had to take a bit more time to actually start sharing on what I was already doing. But it's
Right.
easier to just do it and not share it online. So I'm really happy because by just saying it out loud, by starting to talk about it, yeah, everything started to flow again. The floods are open, or how do you say it? So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
So it sounds like, and this can often happen with people, is that, you knew what you wanted to do and you came into the work to do it, but a part of you still needed to heal the story of that you weren't enough because we know, or that you had to do more than and be perfect at everything, which, I've worked with attorneys and I know that can be part of what it is to be in the legal field is you're really not allowed a lot of room for error. So there's a tendency toward perfectionism. But I always say perfectionism is the greatest obstacle to progress, right? Which you encountered. But I just think it's wonderful that you recognized it, you overcame it, and and I know because I've seen you and heard you, you're fantastic. You're an excellent coach. So you just stepped into it and you allowed it. And I'm so proud of you and happy for you.
I'm happy for me as well.
Fantastic. So tell me,
Yeah.
how is it working? Because I know that you're leading more with the behavioral business coaching. How are you integrating those two and, in terms of the core money coaching process and the behavioral business coaching?
I just put them all together
Hmm.
and I added some extra flavor from other experiences. And
Good.
I created what I called, it is in Dutch, but you can translate it like the new standards. And
Hmm.
that's where the money coaching techniques, tools, and the business archetype techniques, they all come together in a 4-month program, or program is a good word. So it's all flipped and turned, and it always starts with the biography, because by doing that, I get a jump start into them, in their lives, and they themselves get that in their lives as well. So that's why I always tell them, first session is the most important thing. So you have to do the work, and know that we're going to go way deep into what's happening. Because you did the work.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we have the extra leverage, or how do you say, the advantage above other coaches, because we work with such big, how do you call it, details
Yeah,
of
we
the
know
clients.
exactly
We
how
know
the client,
everything.
how they got to where they are, which contextually is an enormous advantage to
Yes.
help them understand that what happened
Yeah.
actually created the underlying patterns that are driving the decisions in the first
Yeah.
place, right?
Yeah, and what is so cool is that I often get back from the people that I work with is by just writing it down. They at the end always say, "I think I'm already recognizing some stuff myself."
Yeah,
So by just having them to write it down, they already get the advantage of seeing it themselves.
right.
So cool.
Yeah, and there's that sort of zeitgeist experience that people have when they begin to recognize that the way that they think or feel or behave isn't happening in a vacuum. It doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It happens as a direct result of our lived experience. But if we don't look at that and connect the dots, it becomes very difficult for people to, either make peace with themselves, but also to make the changes they need to make because they don't know how or why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. So how can you change it, right?
Yeah, and then they do their best to do change it by using a lot of willpower, etc.
Yeah.
And that's depleting them, because that's not sustainable.
Right. Yeah. The human will is a powerful force. I think it's kind of our secret sauce. But if we're only operating from will alone without a conscious awareness, it does make everything a little harder, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So so it's a 4-month process that begins with the money coaching process. Then you integrate the business coaching side. And from the standpoint of, are you also working with people who are in their own transition, or are they just trying to improve their own business and become aware of the things they need to do in order to get where they really want to go? Or what is it? A
It's
combination of?
it's both. It's
Okay.
both. I recently worked. It's not per se the clients I'm specialized in working with. This was a lawyer that got burned out.
Mm.
And because I knew him, I just told him, if you want to go back to work, or you just want to fix what made you burn down, or how to say it, you need to start working with me, because I am your solution. And it felt really bold of me to tell them, or
Yeah.
tell him that. And I was so 180 whatever percent sure. So he started working with me, and he's now back to work already. So yeah,
So it's moved
and
through
he
the
had a lot
burnout.
of challenges. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, well, burnout is a huge issue in the world in general, but I think it's very high in the legal field because of
yeah,
the constant demand, especially if you're working for a corporate law firm where,
yeah,
it's always, what have you done for me lately kind of thing, right? So
yeah. So true.
is that also another niche that you sort of moved into is just burnout and how to
No,
help people? Okay.
no. My niche is actually the lawyer that wants it all.
Mm,
The female lawyer that and wants to grow professionally and as a human being,
mm,
and doesn't want to choose between living, because we are so trained that if you want something, that it's going to cost you something else.
everything. Right.
And they don't want to do less, they just want to have and do more, be more, and not just have to bargain or whatever on
Right.
life. So that's actually the niche.
So really helping attorneys to seek better balance as they grow and evolve into who they really
Yeah,
want to be professionally and personally. So what a
yeah,
beautiful little container that you've created.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
so far, when as you're doing this work, what is some of the feedback that you're experiencing from your clients as a result of working with you? I'd just be curious.
It is really um, on an identity level.
Hmm.
People that they really change as a person. I often make. I also I make them little. How do you call them? Pictures of the 1.0 version and the 2.0 version, just to make them see what is happening. What are the things, the voices that they are hearing in their heads when they are the old self, and what is the new self. So it's all identity level, and they always tell me, okay, how and why are you telling this right now? Because right now in my practice, this is happening. They get to experience more peace of mind, and also more trust in themselves and in
Hmm.
the people they work with, because it is
Beautiful.
also a way of a better communication from within and also from without. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
So in a way, it's really you're helping them also step into their leadership
yeah,
as they're working forward and working with others as well and their team.
yeah. I always tell them it is all about inner leadership,
Hmm.
because and it's not only because that's what you trained us. It's not only just knowledge,
Hmm.
because knowledge, I was trained knowledge is power, and it's not. Applied knowledge or implemented knowledge, that is power. And
Yeah.
now, because they see the archetypes and all the other stuff that is running in their heads, and you said it at the beginning, the stories we make of things that we hear, interpreted, we
Right.
say ourselves, all those stories, when you get to reframe them, then a whole different perspective arrives, and then they really get to work with clients in a better and healthier way.
Yeah. Well, this is really fabulous work. And I really think it's amazing that you've taken it and just really deeply applied. Now, you said you work mostly with women, entrepreneurs and attorneys, but you're also working with men. And I think that the male lawyers probably in some ways even need you more because they often don't have a very sensitive, place to go to talk about the challenges that they experience. And you can offer both the sort of grit of it and be
Yeah.
direct and help them understand, but also the more sensitive aspects of it that maybe they have a lot of feelings about things they haven't shared with anybody. Have you experienced that with working with men attorneys?
Yes, and no, because the people that I work with, they tend to be able to at least talk with me. Um, One of them told me that that is because they feel so safe
Mm,
when they are in having a conversation with me. So I'm not sure it's everywhere, but I don't see any difference in
mm,
that. I do realize, because I that's also what I've been told, that they like working with or prefer working with me because I know the business. I've been in their shoes,
right.
and if I tell them something to do, because I can be quite directive, or I am quite directive, I know that they can fit it
Yeah.
in their lives, because I don't talk rubbish.
Yeah.
uh,
No, you
so
have clarity around what needs to be
yeah,
done and you just direct it. And,
yeah,
it's not like we force people to do what we say, but I find it interesting that some coaching processes say, you don't ever direct the client. The client has all the answers. And my response to that has been, well, if the client had all the answers, why are they hiring you? I really would
yeah,
like to understand that. I don't think the client has all the answers all the time. I think they need help getting there and they need help understanding why it's sometimes hard for them to come to those answers themselves. So it's guiding them to get the clarity. But also at times when there's a blank for them and they don't know what to do, we have to give them the benefit of our experience and our advice. Otherwise, why are they hiring us? So I don't believe that, the client always does have the answer. I think they can be guided to discover the answer. And sometimes they
Yeah,
just need someone. I have clients all the time say, look, Deb, I truly don't know what to do. Can you just help me figure out what would be some options?
yeah,
Because there's a blank spot there. And certain archetypes, like, the innocent or the novice or whatever, there's just no foundation there. And we can't make them wrong or just sit there and say, well, I know you know the answer. That could take a long time helping them find the answer when they clearly are just stuck and need some support getting from where they are to where they need to be. So how are you managing that? It sounds like you're doing a great job.
yeah. What what I tend to hear most is that uh, it is not that they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
they are just not doing it. I had a nice discussion on it with a client. He said, "Yeah, I to be honest, I know on the level of intellect,
Mm-hmm.
I know all the steps, I know what to do, and I still don't do it."
Right.
And that's because all the stories that they
Underneath.
run
Yeah.
in, that they have underneath, and also because they are so used to doing it differently,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that's not serving them, that it's hard for them to change that, because
Right.
your brain keeps you right there because that's what
It's
it knows.
familiar. It's
That's
familiar.
familiar. So it'll keep you there because it's safe. I always say that's where you're not dying, because you already proved that, even though it's maybe miserable in the long run. However, yeah, I have a lot of clients that they are very strict and they have some inner shadows, like the tyrant going on, because they are, it's not that they don't have enough, because they have enough. They have good lives, and still it's never enough,
Right.
because they
So
don't
that
do
drives
enough.
them. Yeah. So that
Yeah,
drives them.
yeah, and that's cool, because by making them see that, reframe that, and then give them the tools to actually take action on it,
Mm-hmm.
then they start doing it. And
Right.
I always make it very practical, very easy to implement in their daily life.
Right.
And then when I see them next week, and I'm really on top of them to actually do it, because I know, and I always tell them, you don't have to understand everything, you just have to do it.
That's
And
right.
then afterwards, I'm going to explain more. And sometimes I have to explain, because then they are so wired on the intellect.
Right.
And still, because I built rapport, and because they really trust me, I get to tell them, okay, just trust me.
Yeah.
And that helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that I think we really underestimate, and this is true of all, of most people. Change is one of the hardest things that we do as human beings. Human beings are very reluctant to change, even if they know they need to, even if they want to. There's a part of us that somehow is so perilously drawn to the familiar at times that actually taking the step requires, sometimes a pick and a shovel or a good coach who says, look, you're actually doing this to yourself. And what I want you to know is that I'm here to help you create the life you say you want. And if you really mean it, let me help you get to the other side. And so you give them the strategies. Some of them will work, some of them won't. But I think once they start moving forward and they realize that change, you're not going to die when you're changing. Things are going to feel uncomfortable because it's change, but you're not going to die. And as soon as they start moving forward, what do you see once they start to realize they can do it? What has been their response and what are you observing? Once they allow
Uh,
themselves, give themselves permission to move forward.
I see a lot of lightness. I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of smiles. And I see also a lot of, I can't swear, like, okay, why, what the hell, why was I still doing that? And I have one of my clients, I've been coaching her for 1.5 years now. She did the whole transformation. She's now into mastering her new identity. And sometimes it still pops up.
Yeah.
So in a few months ago, uh, we had a money conversation again, and it was all about her being worthy or feeling herself worthy of receiving when there is no really hard work attached to the receiving. And we went all through the process, and now it came back. And she
Mm.
said, "Oh my God, I'm doing it again." And then she told me, "I think this is the martyr, right?" I said, "Yeah."
There you
Oh
go.
my gosh, yeah. But then, because she's so aware, and I make them a little cheat sheet
Yep.
about the
Their
archetypes,
archetypes.
stuff like that, and the tools that they have. So they have it on the spot, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I thought she was away. She's still back." Yeah.
Yeah.
And because most of my clients are really at a level that they are very self-aware, they
Mhm.
just hear the 1.0 version and the 2.0 version. They are battling in my head, and they
Oh, yeah.
just yeah, and that's cool because then I get actual. They sometimes just send me a voice note,
Hmm.
and then okay, this is what is happening. What do I do now? Because I really want to just rip their head off or whatever, and then by just sending that voice note to me, I give them then the actual feedback within 24 hours. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe you should reframe the story. Maybe this is actually happening.
Right.
Because often clients, they can be a little bit bullish when you
Hmm.
let them, especially. And at the same time, they are just looking for someone that's reaching out the hand for help because they
Yeah.
are scared because they're in a legal thing that they don't comprehend. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's so nice. So it's a lot of fun also.
I can tell that you're having fun, which makes me so happy.
Me too.
I always feel like it's such a privilege to sit in the seat of, being a money coach and doing the work that we do because we get to know our clients at such a deep level and we get to see people transform their lives on a daily basis, literally. And sometimes in little pieces and sometimes in big pieces. And so it's such a privilege and I think does bring a lot of joy to, coaches. And I can see that it's bringing you a lot of joy as well.
Also
So,
very humbling
yeah,
to be able to do
absolutely.
that. It is so because when you are doing a few sessions with them and then and you finally see them connecting the dots, and it's not finally but when you see it happening and you
Right,
see those eyes lit up, yeah, then that's the most beautiful moment ever because that's where you know, okay, now I've got them, and now I know they got themselves
right.
because there's no way back from that.
Yeah. What you're saying reminds me of, where the World Cup is on and, the eyes are focused on, these amazing athletes. And, we know that athletes don't get better on their own. They all have coaches, and coaches really have an enormous impact on the success of any professional athlete. And yet people don't think about how coaching can help them in
Mhm.
whatever it is that they're trying to do, reach a whole new perspective, goal, or, certainly enhance their lives in ways that they would not understand. So, that's the value of what we do is that you're really enhancing not just performance, but the inner aspect, right? In terms of how they feel about themselves. And that is really essential to a person being willing to make change, I think, is that there has to be a point of connection within them, right? Where they
Yeah,
go ahead,
and
please.
it's not only them. We also, by impacting them, having empowering them to make that shift, that transformation, they become better moms. Not that they're not good moms, but they become
Right,
even better than they already were. Better partners, more loving, loving more towards their parents.
right,
So it is just way much bigger than that, and that's what I like when I see them and when they talk about their partners or their children, and how what we are doing together is also shifting
right,
that part of their lives.
right. Well, I think the beauty of when we are on a transformational journey that begins on the inside, which ours does. Our coaching process begins on the inside before we start to do anything externally to make change, that inner growth actually is what spills out to the rest of their lives, and then they're more prepared to do the outer work relative to business or money or whatever else needs to transpire. And just think about it from the standpoint of, um, most people are just trying to do this in isolation. They're trying to figure it out. They're doing the best that they can. But to have an ally like you, what a great asset, Lobke. What a great asset.
Yeah, yeah, and I see it like that, yeah, as well. And I am in their corner, and I'm really not just for the chit chats. I make them work really hard, and they are really eager to do so because they just want to have that growth. I always do an intake, and I only start working with them when I really understand that I can help them, and that we are aligned, that we can do the work together. Because I used to say when I was a lawyer, I often said no to clients because that was really very directive. You either became a client or not, and that's when I always tell them, just making a joke, okay, you become my client, and if I tell you to jump, you're not going to ask me why. The only question that you can ask is how high. And if you're not willing to do so, then we're not a match. And that is actually also the same when I work with people, because if they don't trust me, that I already have the bigger picture, that I know why I'm asking them to do kind of exercises, then I'm not the right fit for them.
Right.
So I'm not going to waste their time.
Well, particularly since our process is a methodology, and
Yeah,
you know that it only works if you do it, the way that we've designed it, because all the other pieces are critical to understanding the person so that,
yeah,
and ultimately to them understanding themselves. So you're right. I mean, I don't put it like that to clients, but I do tell people I can only work with people who are willing to do the work. And this is a methodology and it has to be done completely, or it's not going to give us what we need in order to help you get to where you're going to be. So great that you've made, I do think that some coaches try to wiggle around that and act as though you can do how let the client lead the process. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work. The client needs to be prepared to do the things that we already know work and give us the outcome that
yeah,
we do. In fact, we could guarantee anybody if they do the work, we're going to have a very clear, visible map of exactly what's going on and why they need what they need, but they have to be willing. And I think it's
yeah,
really important. And I'm glad to hear that you're following it. It's adaptable and you've
yeah.
adapted it yourself, but the core aspects have to be done or you're just not going to understand the person properly. And then everything falls from there, right?
Yeah, and it sometimes still feels quite bold to say so. I just had a conversation about it prior to this meeting, and I just tell them, if we're not a fit, then yeah, I'm not going to
Okay.
waste your time, and you're not going to waste my time,
Yeah.
because yeah, and then you need to be at least willing to do so. Because I also talk to people who are just not willing to
Yeah.
do the work because they are just too scared
Or
to
stuck.
make that change. And
Yeah.
I get that. I've been in that position often also, years before I even thought of stopping, closing the doors of my law firm by becoming a lawyer. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get that, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna just be very gentle about it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you well enough to know there are parts of you that are quite gentle, but when you're really trying to get somebody to see or do something, it sometimes needs to be a little more directive. So, yeah, I get that. But you're a big-hearted lady. I've seen your heart and you're very present. And that's why people feel safe with you, Lubka. It's
Yeah,
like, we can I believe we coach from the heart, but we, strategically, and when we're getting more into the weeds of what needs to happen, then we need to go into the mind, because the mind will be much more, data, facts, and information, whereas the heart is where we coach from when we're really trying to have the depth of understanding that we need, right? So beautiful. So, when you're working with your clients, what would you say, what archetypes are you most, first of all, when you said what you just said there, I just want you to know that that is the sign of a great warrior magician. So the warrior knows what needs to be done, and the magician isn't attached. The magician says, here, this is what we need to do. I'm not attached. If you're good to do this, I'm really here to support you, and I will give you everything I have. But the magician holds that place of non-attachment. So if the person's not a right fit, you just trust that there's no harm there. It's like, bless you on your journey. It's just not a good fit, and that's okay. And the magician knows that. So you don't have to worry about that client being not a good fit, because there's a new one coming just around the corner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I just don't like to work. I'm not going to drag them along.
Yeah.
I like to work with people because I know the power, I know the value, and if they don't see it, then that's fine. There are other clients who like to work with me. So yeah, and about your question about the
The archetypes.
archetypes, I work with they often have high warrior,
Mm-hmm.
high martyr,
Mm-hmm.
about serving, and often also a bit of a tyrant. And that
Mm-hmm.
is more towards themselves,
So
not
self-tyrant
towards the
dynamic.
outer, it's the self-tyrant. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to do more, more, more,
Yeah.
sort of that driven stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, from the business archetype stuff, are you using the diagnostic a lot in terms of assessment and stuff like that?
Yeah. Not it's, I think now been a few months ago
Mm-hmm.
since I last did it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, there is the servant leader a lot there, which is
Mm-hmm.
matching the martyr a lot. But no, I don't always use it. I always use the money archetypes
Mm-hmm.
because that's an easier to implement in the
Mm-hmm.
program
Mm-hmm.
when they have actual the when we start to work towards the
Right.
business.
Right.
Then, of course, the business archetypes come, and I take a lot of more time on the inner work. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't always get to go to the business archetype work.
Okay. I understand. Well, what you've created is working for you. So that, we give you the pieces, and not everybody uses
Yeah,
all of them, and that's okay, right? I
yeah,
was
but that's
curious.
also because it's how do you, it's different for every client. The
Right.
basis is the same for everyone, and then then you grab from your
The
toolbox
tools. Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
needed for this client. So
Right.
because I also use values
Mm-hmm.
and the storytelling, and because that seems often to be a very important part, and to know what are the values,
Right.
and why are they, uh, because when you are arguing with someone often, then there is some conflict, and that's all often, not always, on the level of values. So
Mhm.
yeah, I work on that as well, and then we get to the business archetypes, but before we get there, we've been working for months then.
Okay. Beautiful. Sounds like a wonderful process. So, as you're moving forward in your practice, what is the vision that you're holding for yourself as you move forward? What are you heading toward, or does this just feel like it's right just for now? And so what is your longer term vision?
Since I only got out of the closet for Opsteen Academy since not so long ago, I really want to grow this business as a big business. If there are no boundaries in my dreaming, and I am used to dream really big, I would like to scale up at some point and also train other coaches to
Mm-hmm.
do what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
because I really believe, or I know that what I'm doing, there, there's such a high need of that,
Right.
and I'm still at the point where the lawyers, or often the lawyers say, I need to do it myself. I need to be, I
Right.
don't need help or whatever. And at some point, they will understand that they can't do it alone anymore. So,
That's
and I
right.
think it's that demand is growing within a few years. So I'd like to, at some point, also start working, training other coaches in the way I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can talk about that more offline because,
Yeah.
as you know, I was interested in that previously with you.
Yeah,
So,
we've been discussing
yeah.
that multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lobke, it's been such a pleasure catching up with you and learning more about your practice. And I'm really happy about you finding this niche and really feeling good about that. It's very evident to me that you're on your path and that this is the right direction. So congratulations for really stepping into that. So, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to share with our listeners today how they can reach out to you because I'd like for them to know where you are. So, your website, how to connect with you. Please go ahead and share that.
So, yeah, it's Lobke Opsteen. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have my website, opsteenacademy.com. So there you can find the details on who I am, what I'm doing. And I'm on Instagram as well with Opsteen Academy. So
Beautiful.
I think that's the easiest way.
Absolutely. And Lobke, can are you doing money type consultations? Do you have the quiz on your website that people can go in and take the quiz?
Yeah, I do have to connect it still to the
Oh,
Opsteen
okay.
Academy version.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm doing that as well. Yeah.
Lobstercoaching.com is where they can take the money type quiz and learn about themselves.
It's gonna be connected to
I see.
opsteenacademy.com.
So for
Yeah.
now, that's not available, but they can still reach out to you at your
Yes.
website.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna send them a link. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. It's been a pleasure to be here. Please look up Lobke Opsteen, located in the Netherlands, but she works internationally. She's a great business coach and money coach. Thank you so much for your good work out there, Lobke. Really enjoy
Thank you.
speaking with you
Thank you for
today.
training me or teaching me.
Of course, that's been a pleasure all along. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Take care.
Bye.